Hey guys, Ace here. Welcome to another episode of Friends You Haven't Met. Today I'm introducing you to my friend Ethan Karlin. Ethan is a concert photographer and videographer who is just trailblazing through the music industry as he pursues his passions of working with artists as they tour some of the largest music festivals in the US and around the world and telling their stories through digital media. We talk about life on the road as a tour photographer, the immediate transition from college student to dream chasing, his journalistic approach to digital storytelling, and so much more. Before we start, if you have a second, a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe, even a podcast rating, depending on what platform you're listening to this on, goes a really long way in allowing me to continue connect with individuals who have valuable lessons to teach and interesting stories to tell. So please take a second to engage with this video, depending on how you're listening to this. And for those who already have, I appreciate you all so much. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on all new episodes. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Here's Ethan Karlin. Ethan Karlin, welcome to Friends You Haven't Met. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I'm glad we finally got to set this up. I think you first hit me up, or I don't remember who followed who first. I think I might have started following you first online, but it's been over a year maybe, I think.
It's been a while. I think since like my first House of Blues event way back, 2023.
Oh my gosh. Time is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've graduated since then, which we're gonna get into, and I'm really excited. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about today. We're gonna cover your lifestyle as a concert photographer to balancing relationships post college, and exploring your identity beyond your work. But first, I wanted to establish how you got to the position you're in today, touring with Disco Lines, which we'll talk about in a little bit, as well as just flying around the country on the regular to capture these moments for artists and event attendees. Super exciting. So Ethan, first question, just walk us through it for myself and the listeners. How did you get started in this cutthroat, elusive, highly coveted space, which is the music industry? What were the milestones?
Yeah, so I moved to San Diego to go to San Diego State, and I had been to a few concerts like coming out of COVID, late 2021, and I just like fell in love with it as a young adult. And coming to San Diego State, I really was in search of, what I wanted to do with this chapter of my life. What am I going to do when I graduate? Mm-hmm. And I saw the power that like live events had to bring people together, and I wanted to kind of go down that rabbit hole. So started off, I thought I could use photography as a way to get into marketing, and so I joined the school newspaper as a way to like have a media outlet to get into these shows. And then from that, I met people at Live Nation that then took me to people at Insomniac and Petco Park, and then getting to photograph like some of my favorite artists at Rolling Loud. Going to Rolling Loud Miami was also like a huge milestone for me, and then it's just kind of like compounded into, okay, I did that, now what's next? And it's been exciting to see like the hard work kind of pay off to now I get to use my camera to travel.
Yeah, I'm sure. When did you get into photography?
So I've been into photography my entire life. My dad was a photographer, so he had his own like wedding and bar mitzvah photography business, did real estate portraits and all that. So I have like memories as a kid, looking downstairs and seeing him like in his office or his workspace, like with clients and taking photos. So that, and then he would bring me out to like national parks and camping, and that I had a camera in my hand. So then just like, moving forward, high school classes, pick an elective. Okay, I'll do photography. Yeah. Right. And then it just like kept compounding, got a new camera body. It was like, okay, I'm going to use this, and just, continued about my journey to hone in my skill and not only go from photo, but now into video and like the video side of storytelling too. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So when you got started, like let's say first year college, you said you got involved with the SDSU newspaper in your first year, right? Was the plan or the trajectory to do photography for musical artists, or was that just a means to an end that became more?
So I viewed that as a way to get into the live entertainment space. I thought, okay, like I had shot a festival before through a media outlet. I said, okay, this is like the first step was joining the school newspaper, having an outlet to do that. And I eventually like, there was part of it where I was like, okay, I want to be able to photograph like X, Y, and Z event. I wanted to shoot Kendrick Lamar at San Diego. Yeah. And then ended up shooting Jack Harlow like the week after, which was like my first show, or one of my first shows in San Diego. What? Absolutely huge.
Where did you play?
Viejas.
That was your first show in San Diego?
That was, yeah, it was my second show in San Diego.
Yeah.
So that was like, whoa, I can like do this. But it started off as a means to get into like the marketing side of live entertainment. I wanted to like run social media accounts, help promote events, organize events. Like that was the goal. And then through this, I initially started out, I thought, hey, this is like I'm not going to be able to pay my bills doing concert photography. Like I just didn't think that even photography was sustainable, but the industry proved me wrong as I like grinded through the steps to get where I am now.
So in preparation for today, I asked you what themes are most prominent in your life right now. And one of the things you listed was bringing people together. So why is building community so important to you? And what ways do you try to do that?
I feel like in high school, I didn't necessarily have as big of a community. I was like finding out what it was like to have a community. So coming to San Diego, I moved into a very social apartment complex and immediately wanted to like have a group of friends that I could go out and do things with and, just bring people together. And I feel like music is a huge way to bring people together for stuff. So being able to do that, it's extremely meaningful to me to like have people feel safe in a space, like provide an environment that, they know where their drinks are coming from. They're all there for like a positive and the same reason. And it just like helps build friendships and community. And I also see that my fellow creators and like photographers, we live in such a kind of an isolated job where it's like it's just us and our camera. So in the times where we're able to like put the camera on our hip, we need a space to all be able to come together and, celebrate what we've been working so hard for. So I really feel like that community, especially in the creative space, is important more now than ever.
Yeah, I agree. I know you recently started working with Disco Lines. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Thank you.
How did that happen?
It happened because I shot one of his sets for free in San Diego. So it started off, one of my friends reached out and was like, hey, we have an extra like spot. We could use an extra camera angle at Cross. But there was like no budget. And I was like, I'll be there. I'm already shooting for a few other artists on the lineup. I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then he again lobbed me a gig, which was for like a small college show at Nova in San Diego. And from there, it just like kind of took off and like built the relationship and, went to Bonnaroo and Breakaway with him in June. And then since then, it's just been like, okay, riding with him. So it's been a lot of fun.
How crucial has free work been in your trajectory? Because I have a lot of my own experiences and so much of my opportunities came from like literally me DMing people doing stuff for free. Like I'm literally working on stuff right now that I offered to do stuff for free. But in your experience, what role did offering to do free work play?
It was a huge experience. I mean, the school newspaper, that wasn't a paid opportunity. That was just me showing up saying, hey, I want to cover this concert. Like, there's no pay behind it. Even like working for artists the first like time or two, even taking like not necessarily a free shoot, but like a discounted one. Like it's maybe a smaller show that's not as important to the artist. Like, okay, get in there, get in the door and prove yourself and why you're worth that full amount.
Right. At least like put yourself in a position where you can at least present your work.
Yeah.
And, use that as a stepping stone. So you said an interesting thing in the pre-interview about how your start in journalism shaped your perspective on the value behind the content you capture and the stories that you tell. Can you tell me more about that? Like, what is your mission statement, your purpose when it comes to capturing content and telling these stories through a digital medium?
So I really view concert photography as not only a tool for marketing, but a tool to like tell the story and like from a more journalistic approach. Because the Beatles, like at the very beginning of their career, like those photos, those moments where they're in the studio, like those are the ones that people look back on and wish that they could understand more about like what their process was. So we live in this age where it's like a ton of short form TikTok content and it's great for telling the story of the artist, but I really want to be there to dive deeper and to tell the true story of like an artist's journey as they move to the next chapter of their career, or even for them to like look back on in a few years and say like, show their kids like this is what I was doing at this place at this time. I think it's important. It's history at the end of the day.
I want to know a little bit more about just your life on the road. I mean, when you came up here today, you told me that you doing an all-nighter tonight so you can fly out tomorrow and then you got a gig like the next day or whatever. But like, what is a typical week in the life like for you during the season? Like what is a 7-day period look like? Where are you flying to? What do you who are you with? And just, walk me through that.
So usually like Monday to, let's say, Thursday, assuming it's a weekend shoot, I'm like editing from the weekend before, recovering, which is extremely important, and just taking care of myself and all the work that I have to do, and a lot of editing. Then let's say on a Friday morning, I'll fly out to a festival or a show, shoot the show, and then pretty much go back to the hotel, edit, and then fly home the next day or fly to the next location. It's pretty in and out of a lot of these spots. There's not a lot where we're like hanging out for a few days. I'm excited. I think we're going to be able to do that within the next few months. But lately it's just been like in and out, late nights editing, get stuff. Basically by the time I'm home, all of the content, at least like the initial like photos and rock clips, is done. So
yeah, because you're editing on the plane and stuff.
Yeah, if I'm not sleeping on the plane, I'm editing on the plane.
Wow. Do you get FOMO from these events that you're at?
In what way?
Like do you miss being on the attendee side? Say you're like shooting at a festival and you're in the media pit, which I'm sure is cool, but it's still work, right? To some extent. Do you ever like miss being on that side, or like when was the last time you attended something with your friends as an attendee?
Oh God, probably like I viewed Countdown this past year as like one of my last full sends, like being an attendee, bought the GA ticket, like went with my friends because that was like really meaningful. It was like a new year, new era. But then since then, it's like pretty much every weekend has just been like a work show. And it's nice. Like I really wish that we went to Shambhala in Canada, out in the middle of the woods in British Columbia with these beautiful stages, and we were only there like on site for like 5 hours.
5 hours, damn.
So I had really wished that we had stayed there to enjoy a little bit, but when I'm on the job, it's like it's their schedule. I'm just there to go with the flow and do my job, and if we get some extra time, it's great, and if not, then I'm back editing and on to the next one.
So whenever I interview artists or music industry professionals like yourself, I always make it a point to ask about their mindset, values, and just like the hardships that come with the lifestyle. The music industry is full of unique experiences, and everyone comes from different backgrounds, that there's just so many stories to tell, so much insight to be had. So what are some recent lessons you've learned, like either about the industry in general or just personal experiences that have shaped your current mindset about this line of work?
I mean, I've always viewed it as a very like solitude job. Like it's you and your camera, you're there to photograph the artist. Like even when you're hanging out in the group, like you're still there to capture it. You're not there to hang out and have fun, even though it is like such a fun environment, especially in the EDM scene. It's a little bit more relaxed and like people are like welcoming and drinking and partying, but it's like your job is to capture it. So it's like it's you and your camera. Even when you're surrounded by people, it's still you. So it's important to not only find time for your friends, but like for yourself to just like regroup and take your social battery some time to recharge. Even though it is kind of a social job, it wears on you. So I think just like making sure that I'm prioritizing the right things in my life and spending time with people who I really value and want to like spend a good time of my life with.
Was it what you expected, or is there any way that stands out that is not what you thought it might be?
I think it's better than I thought it would be.
Oh, awesome.
Like I initially started out and it was just like first 3 songs, you're out. Like you don't really have a relationship with the artist. You're in and out of the photo pit. Like that's it. You're done. But now that I've like started to work with artists specifically, like in the last 6 to 8 months, as opposed to like the more venue side, like I've really been able to build that relationship with the artists, and I feel like it's helped me grow creatively as well. Right.
So I want to back up a little bit and talk about that transition period from college into the music industry, because you just graduated, right, this past May,
like 3 months
ago. And so you went from contributing to your college newspaper as a freshman to locking in a photo gig for a touring artist just weeks after you graduated, right? So I have to imagine that experience was fulfilling but also jarring, not just in transitioning from full-time student to full-time photographer, but just also balancing all the changes that come with life after college. So how have you dealt with that transition of college student to chasing your dreams as a full-fledged adult?
Yeah, so it was nice having 2 years at San Diego State. Coming in as a junior, I had some time at community college during COVID to like really build up like my time management skills, figure out like how to get the work done so that I could do the other things I wanted to do. And that was the biggest part of that college experience, was like I was able to get my work done, and then I had time to get everything else that I wanted to done. And then now being out of school, it's like I have 3 times as much time to just like chase my dreams and do literally whatever I want. Like there's no schedule that I'm set for myself unless I decide to have that schedule. So coming out of college, I was working harder to get into EDC than I was to finish my degree, to be honest. Like that last semester, I had really felt like I'd reached a point where it's like, okay, photography is the thing I'm going to do now. I was chasing an internship for the first year of college. I didn't get the dream internship. I said that was a sign to go all in on photography.
Yeah.
And so then coming out of college, going to the largest festival in North America within a few days of graduating, working for, I think it was like 11 artists over the 3 days. And literally just grinding out sunrise. Like I saw the sunrise every single day.
That must have been unreal.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Plus
I'll do it again.
With your group, right? You're like doing it with other people with your similar ambitions.
Yeah.
And
staying in a hotel room with like other creatives who are also grinding, like cranking out those. It was literally like 8 a.m. edits because the sun rose and the event ended at like 5:30 in the morning. So by the time we got back, and I'd say the biggest thing was just like continuing the momentum, because a lot of people, like that's kind of they graduate and they have to pull the handbrake and like totally adjust. But I was always building up over the last 2 years to like, okay, I'm working during the weeks, like at House of Blues, and then I started working weekends at Nova when I turned 21. So I was like building that up to the point where I graduated, and it was like, okay, this is the full-time mission now. Like I'm ready for it. It's just like also seeing my friends go off and do different things. Like that's tough for anyone graduating college, and not having those weekends to spend together, at least every weekend. Like it's definitely different. It's different.
I'm sure. I mean, I think one of the hardest things you deal with as an adult, in my opinion, especially working in this field, is finding time for your relationships outside of your field of work. Is definitely one of the most discouraging changes after college, and something kind of just everyone individually kind of just learns as reality sets in, that like, oh, you're not, in this giant cohort of people and you're all at SDSU for the same reason. You're just all here to go to school, and that's like our unifying thing. And then right after graduation, it's like some people move back home, some people like you go straight into work, some people take a gap year or whatever it is. But for someone like you who is focused on a time intensive career, you're traveling often, working nights, weekends, at the very events that the regular person is attending with their friends, how do you balance your time with your non-work relationships? Like, do you have balance in that sense?
I really don't at the moment. Like, it's kind of a sacrifice that I've taken over the last few years, or especially the last few months, is really like, hey, my weekends I'm gone, and then during the week I'm editing. Like, I don't have a lot of time. It's nice that I still live in a like kind of a college apartment complex, so I'm still seeing some friends that live there, and I'm able to spend some nights, I can go down to the fire pit and just like chill for an hour, see friends, and then get back to work. But I don't really have that balance, and that's something that this career doesn't necessarily offer in the best way. Is if you're touring and you're editing all the time and trying to like get that workout and also like continue to expand yourself in your business, you don't necessarily have a lot of time to invest in especially new relationships. You have friendships that have been going on for a few years, and those are easier to maintain than like meeting someone new and building that relationship, because it's like you don't have a lot of time for it. It's just like genuinely you still have to do all the adult things, take care of yourself, clean, like feed yourself, So there's not a lot of balance, and that's kind of a sacrifice that I've been willing to take, because I believe within the next few years it's going to pay off, and eventually I'll have more time for that.
So I'm curious, because I don't know much about concert photography, videography. Like, what would be next for you, I guess? Like, is there a version of this where you are now just like working with a group of photographers, or will it always be you holding the camera? And is that what you want to be doing?
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
When I graduated, the first thing when people would ask me is what's next, because I was working so consistently, it was I want to see where in the world my camera can take me. And within a few weeks, the tour opportunity came up. So I'm like super excited to be doing that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like, I don't really know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
I initially thought going post-grad, I would continue to invest in my San Diego relationships and like build out a business here, eventually work with a team of creators consistently. But now it's like, okay, I'm going to be on the road pretty much every weekend. I'm going to be editing during the weeks. There's not a lot of time for like the side hustles or to like continue to expand. So I'm kind of just investing in using that opportunity to further my video skills, get more creative with my photography, learn new things about content, both like long form, short form, and then try to take things to the next level when that opportunity like dies down or whatever the next chapter looks like for me. But I like just entered this chapter.
Right.
So it's hard for me to think of the next one. So far it's just been like smooth sailing of one opportunity has kind of like trampolined me onto the next. Like each step, it wasn't necessarily a step up the ladder, it was more like bouncing on a trampoline and being like, okay, that happened, that launched me up here, and then that launched me onto the next one. So it's hard to even know what's next. I'm kind of open to whatever the universe has in store for me, and I'm excited by the unknown.
There's a Japanese saying that you hold in such high regard that has become a principal theme for you. That saying is mono no aware, and this has helped you move through life, especially as you transition between life stages. Can you tell me what it means, and what does it mean to you?
So I discovered it, I think, around the time of COVID with this band, The Midnight, and their music is like meant to be very nostalgia invoking. And that saying is about the beauty of time passing and knowing that like in a moment, like it's kind of beautiful that moment only exists now, but also it's like a sadness that, hey, this moment isn't here forever.
Right.
Like you have to be in it. So especially reflecting on the last few months and my friends moving out, like I really want to make sure that I like tell them like, hey, this is the time that we have right now. Like it's not going to be like this again.
Yeah.
The stage that we're at in our journey in life is only happening right now. And to like, instead of looking back on a time period and being like, oh, I wish I had said this to, let them know how grateful I was for our friendship at the time, or I wish I had appreciated the moment more. I'm like always very invested in enjoying the present and right now, and like making sure that people around me like know how much I appreciate like, hey, this is happening right now. Like it's not always going to be like this.
Yeah.
So and I feel like that's the eye of a photographer too, is you take that picture and that's the moment.
Right.
Like there's no going back. There's no like, oh, do that again. Like especially in music, pyro goes off. There's no getting the pyro back. Yeah. So you gotta, that moment and that song and that place is like, it's only there.
Yeah. I love that sentiment so much, because I really believe that when you realize that everything's temporary, right? It's like a good and a bad thing. It's good when you're experiencing something bad. It's like, well, it's not going to be forever. Things will be good again. But when it's good, then it's like, it's a little heartbreaking, right? But I think that's part of the human experience. Like we have to know that things are temporary, because how would anything be significant if everything lasted forever, right? I think it's in that temporary nature of things that we find value of, like, this is the time, like we're in it, the universe came together in a way where we're at EDC or whatever the moment is, and it's a beautiful thing, I feel like, to realize as a human being. Are you dating
right now? No,
yeah,
no. I think that with the lifestyle I'm living, like it's hard to find someone that also lives like a similar schedule and that is like willing to invest the time to like start a new relationship. Yeah. Because part of what I was saying earlier is like, this is such a fast-paced job where it's like, even if I meet someone that I'm interested in, they're like, oh, when do you want to like hang out? It's like, Let me pull up the Google Calendar. Like I have some
How about
openings.
3 Wednesdays from now?
About 3 Wednesdays from now? Like it's been really hard. Kind of coming out of a relationship, post grad, and then trying to like find something new. It's like I haven't really invested the time into it. I'm really focusing on building my career, and then everything else it'll come later.
Okay, so it's not even something you're.
It's not a huge
it's not even taking up
priority. It's not taking up too much of my mental right now. Like it's nice being on the road. I meet amazing people, but I'm kind of really focused on making sure I'm taking care of myself and improving myself and living the life that I want to live before I share that with someone else.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic, I'm just curious. I know a lot of people in the industry who I think there's like two ways I see it. I know people in the industry that date in the industry because you find a companion that understands the hours and the lifestyle. And then I know people in the industry that specifically do not date in the industry to avoid, having two people on a weird schedule and to just not be dating someone who is in, a hyper social environment where there's alcohol and substances, and it's just like it can be very erratic, I think, to a traditional compared to like a traditional job, a traditional life. Do you have a preference on whenever it is you do decide to date or when that works out? Like, do you have a preference on the person you date having or not having similar work experiences as you?
I think I'm more focused on having them inspire me and pushing me to do better, whether they're in my field or outside of it. Like if that person can really inspire me, I think that's the biggest thing that I look for. And also someone who's understanding of the lifestyle that I'm choosing to live, at least for the next year. And, I'm kind of open to see what happens. But as long as that person is like understanding and also inspires me and I feel like I can help them and inspire them, then I'll be a happy man.
That's an amazing answer. I was not expecting you to say that. That's a great answer. One of the biggest pitfalls in working in a creative field is that it starts off as something that you're passionate about, or you at least really enjoy doing it. And what I've seen a lot, I'm sure a lot of creatives have experienced it, is that it becomes work, and then it becomes a stressor, and then it becomes something that burns you out. And you got to go through this cycle of like burnout, and you got to like find inspiration again and like find the fun and the joy in it again. So I'm just curious for you. Have you hit that point in the cycle? Like, has it become a thing where you had to remind yourself, hey, this is fun. Like I wanted to do this. I love having my camera around, in my hands all the time. Or, have you felt that burnout or have you not hit that point in a cycle?
Like creativity is never constant. So there are definitely times where I'm like not feeling as inspired, or times where I'm like really inspired, like I want to create this piece of content. But photography has definitely transitioned to more of a job than a hobby. Like unless there's a project I'm working on, it's been hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like pick up my camera and go for a walk today and like see what's out there in the world. It's been nice. I have a like small kind of waterproof point and shoot, and taking that out recently has been almost more inspiring because then I can just like take it, click, put it away. Like if I have my phone no pressure,
just taking it,
like just for the moment, and like moments like that really help me find my creativity again and like love for photography. But I haven't burnt out yet, and I'm trying not to. Like that's part of pacing myself and making sure even if there's a tight deadline that I'm like communicating like, hey, either I can get this to you right now or I need a little bit, or I'll get it in the morning, like stuff like that. Just making sure you're pacing yourself while also continuing to meet those expectations. It's pretty important, but haven't burnt out yet. Music industry hasn't jaded me. I haven't had too many not yet. I haven't been burnt quite yet. I've been like extremely fortunate that the people I've met and like the community I've built here in San Diego is all like we all have each other's backs and lobbying each other gigs, and it's nice. Like the people are what keep me inspired, and having someone that you can call and like continue to push yourself and keep each other in check has been really nice too.
Great. So one thing I found interesting about you that I wanted to focus on is, you're chasing your dreams. In many ways, you're living it right now, and you're great at what you do. You're on a trajectory that looks very promising, and in your own words, because your passion is your job, you think about it nonstop. And this is a sentiment that I'd say many people would love to be able to say about their work. But also in our pre-interview, you talked about trying to focus on yourself more and establish your identity beyond your professional life, which is really interesting because this is a theme that was very prominent for me personally the last like 2-ish years. So I'm excited to talk about it. But for me, those questions of like, who am I outside of work came with my age, basically. Pretty much at the I'm 32, but around the turn of the decade, like 30, is when my whole dynamic between work and happiness just changed. And it was a really confusing time for me, largely because like I just had to unlearn a lot of things and relearn, just like reestablish what this all means to me and like what does happiness mean to me and what role does work play. But, you know, for me, the overall catalyst was time. So my question for you, 22-year-old Ethan Karlin, is in what ways are you feeling pressure to identify yourself outside of your job? I'm just curious why this is important to someone relentlessly pursuing their dream job and who seems very happy to be doing it right now.
Yeah, I love it, but I also don't feel like I have a whole lot else to talk about with people. Like, you know, there's maybe been a few TV shows that I've enjoyed, but there hasn't really been any good video game. Like, I used to be such a big gamer.
Yeah.
And then coming out of COVID, I was definitely burnt out of gaming. There wasn't a whole lot of new games to play, and I just, like, couldn't find anything there. It's hard, like, I didn't really find anything at State that really inspired me outside of the music industry because, you know, I'm a music photographer. My only other hobbies are like, okay, I like organizing events and parties, and like that's part of the fun. But again, that revolves around music. That's like kind of work.
It's kind of still in the same bubble.
In my free time, I really like to DJ.
Okay.
Like I've gotten a few gigs here in San Diego, which have been fun, and I like to just go up and watch the sunset and kind of DJ, whether it's for myself or a few friends. But it's hard because my entire life right now revolves around music, and I'm always kind of thinking about what can I be doing next? And even if there is a moment where I'm not doing anything and I just need to take that time to recharge, I'm still thinking about my job. So coming out of post-grad, being 22, I haven't really found who I am outside of my job because my hobby, like my biggest hobby and passion, turned into my job.
Yeah.
And then now that's like all I can think about. I'm so invested in it. And I want to find some sort of other outlet, maybe outside of music. Because I thought DJing would be like, ooh, this is a fun little new video game for me to play with. But then it kept going. It like comes back around into work a little bit. So trying to find something new. And it's been hard. Yeah.
I mean, how are you approaching this currently? Like, what questions are you posing to yourself? Or, you know, are you challenging yourself to try new stuff on the limited free time you have?
There's like so limited free time. I haven't really like had the time to like put much thought into it, but I also think that that's okay right now.
Yeah.
You know, I want to focus on growing my career and getting to a higher place to where then I can transition into that different phase of life. But right now it's like heads to the grindstone and I'm just like thugging it out. You know? I'm thugging it out, but I'm loving it. I don't mean to sound like it's a bad thing. Like I truly do love what I do. And it's how I creatively express myself. So it's good music too. So.
Right. Well, I have one last question for you. Somewhere out there, there's someone about to start their first year of college, probably loves photography or videography, and is considering pursuing a path similar to you. So I want to get your perspective. What would you tell someone like that that's about to start, either inspiration or, you know, any challenges to look out for, anything that comes to mind to someone like you 4 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago, if you're going into university, take the first 2 years to like figure yourself out, build social relationships, like meet as many good people as you can. Like the photography will always be there. You'll be making connections through your time at college. But then junior year, or if you're transferring in like I did, like it's kind of a little bit of time to do that, where you're like, for 6 months I was, you know, like having fun, like casually pursuing photography, seeing where it could lead me. But then after like that first big event or the first big festival, like when I found out I was shooting Rolling Loud, it was like, okay, this is serious. Like I need to invest time. And Your friends there's always going to be something to do. They're going to be inviting you out on weekends and all that, but it's your job to decide, hey, am I going to maybe take this gig that came up super last minute and flake on my friends, or am I going to go out to the party instead of taking a big opportunity? Because it's like college parties are not, they're just parties, dude.
Right.
Like you can party.
They're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere.
I'll sacrifice the parties now so that I can be partying on a yacht in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the mindset where it was like I can only play cup pong so many times before I'm like, what am I doing here? Like I need to be working.
Yeah.
So kind of just take those second 2 years to really focus in, and you're turning 21. There's a lot of temptation there, but just like keep going, keep working at it, and just be like nice, and just keep working at it, and eventually it will come. Like if you genuinely believe, if you speak it into existence, saying that you want to do something. Every time I've spoken something into spoken just like, hey, you know what, I want to start working with artists more directly, that I said that September, October of last year, and then within 2 weeks of me like saying that to my dad, I was booked by Group Love at Snapdragon. Like that was one of my first artist directs. They were opening for Pink. I was like, that was fast. Okay.
The universe is listening.
The universe is listening. And then I said, coming out of postgrad, I was like, I want to see where my camera can take me. And now I'm hitting the road. So it's just like really believe, like the delusional belief in yourself of I can do this, and the universe listens. It does. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, Ethan, where can people keep up with you, and what upcoming projects should they be on the lookout for?
Follow me on Instagram, Ethan Karlin, Karlin. My website has some good work too. And then also follow Disco Lines on Instagram, because a lot of the content that's going to be coming out in the next few months it's going to be mine. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan, thank you so much for taking the time. I love this conversation. I hope you feel like you were able to tell the story you wanted to tell. And follow him on Instagram, guys. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.